But when you look at these divisions, especially the AFC West, Chiefs, Raiders, Chargers, Broncos, like those guys might have 3 to 4 teams in the playoffs in that division. So I think it's going to be very difficult for the Patriots to make it in.
The game of musical chairs is going to be tough to find a seat in the AFC. Sacho, Cowboys will win a playoff game. Is that likely or unlikely?
That is unlikely. When the rubber meets the road, or better yet, like when the going gets tough, like in the playoffs, the Cowboys get going kind of thing. Like we saw it last year, whether it's Mike McCarthy's fault or whoever's fault, the Cowboys struggle in the playoffs, period. And so I think they're going to win the division, sure. But when it comes to that playoff time, penalties, bad coaching, errors, that's usually what happens. The Cowboys find a way to lose.
Really interesting. I mean, look, there's so much conversation around the Cowboys, as there is every single year. We've talked about the coach. We've talked about the quarterback. Let's talk about the star runner. He was Mike McCarthy talking about expectations for Zeke Elliott.
Zeke Elliott's one of our rocks on this team. I mean, he's a keystone player. You see all the extra work that he puts in pre-practice, post-practice, in there on Tuesdays. I mean, he's in the quarterback meetings in the morning. So the physical part of it, he overcame a lot to play, and I think that speaks volumes about him, and you need those type of individuals to win championships.
Isn't that interesting? Look, Zeke Elliott was, for a moment in time there, the best running back in the NFL, and no one will ever take that away from him. But we have seen that decline. And generally speaking, running backs with his career arc, they very rarely reascend. It just doesn't happen much, Lewis. So what is the right expectation for Ezekiel Elliott this year?
Look, I think there's a lot of things that are going to go into that, Greeny. I don't think you can just put it on Ezekiel Elliott and whether or not he still has the same kind of lower body explosiveness, ability to prevent negative runs, break plus 20-yard, plus 15-yard runs. I don't think it's just him. You have to look at a number of different things. First of all, let's start it this way. This offensive line, especially on the left side, tell me how they are going to play. Tell me if Tyron Smith is going to play a full 17-game season, just a full season for the first time since, 2015, 2016? Tell me if Tyler Smith, their first-round pick out of Tulsa, who's going to be starting at left guard after starting his entire career at left tackle in college, is going to be a force. Is he going to be someone who they can count on? Is Tyler Biadasz going to be a better center? Is Zach Martin going to play the entire year? Look, and I know people are saying, well, you're getting away from the fact that, what amount of responsibility does Zeke have on this? He has a tremendous amount, but we know this. We know that running backs are very much so dependent upon their blocking up front. And I'll tell you this is the other thing. He's going to be facing a lot. If you're playing Dallas right now, how are you going to defend them? You're going to make sure they stop the run first because they don't have a lot of perimeter weaponry right now outside of CD. So tell me if Dak has a great year as well and whether or not this wide receiver room is able to come on and develop around CD Lamb, because if they don't, Zeke and Tony Pollard aren't getting anything because you're going to see 8, 9, 10-man boxes against this team, and they're going to say, hey, Dak, good luck trying to throw it to someone other than CD because we're just going to take him out of the game. So there's a lot of factors here, man. A lot of factors are going to go into whether or not Ezekiel Elliott looks like the old Zeke or not.
All of that is right. And yet, Jeff Darlington, when that graphic was up on the screen, you really reacted very strongly. Chrissy, I don't know if we can put that back again, but there it is. You really reacted strongly to that.
Yeah, that's jarring. I mean, that is not a stock you want to buy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Or maybe it is. Maybe the only way it goes back up. But
historically, I'm not Jim Cramer, but historically, those things don't usually go back in the positive direction.
It's a great point. And there is, though, this narrative in Dallas about the idea of, should they go with Tony Pollard over Ezekiel Elliott, because Tony Pollard had 6.2 yards per touch and second in the NFL, whereas Zeke's obviously falling off. I think it's important to point out here, though, there is a middle ground, and that is using them both effectively enough to where you get the most out of Zeke, something that they haven't been able to do the past several years.
What do you think, Sacho?
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't like the way the Cowboys used Ezekiel Elliott last year. You could tell he was injured, and he's a guy who's a physically imposing running back. I remember playing him back in 2016 and had a huge play on him, right, a fourth down stop. We lost the game. But, this dude is a physically imposing. Here's the play. We'll see what happens. Fourth down, get in the hell, makes the stop. He broke my rib, by the way. I was tired. But Ezekiel Elliott is physically imposing. That rib that he broke, it's still it's one of those things I'm gonna tell my kids about. I stopped Ezekiel Elliott on fourth down when he was a rookie. That's how good of a player that he is.
What do you mean you're going to tell your kids that someday? You have kids now. You could tell them that today if you wanted to, right? I mean, this is not someday when you're on your porch. You have kids as we speak, Sacho.
I think I actually will go and tell my kids. I have 3 kids currently. I'm going to go tell them. Y'all give me a minute here. Maybe even break
Fair
something.
enough. Okay, so whilst you're telling them that story, will you be able to tell them about a guy who does recapture some of that this year? Let me ask you it a different way. Is the offense this year going to run through Ezekiel Elliott, or is the offense in Dallas, Sacho, going to revolve around their quarterback who will finally take that next step and go from being what we know he is, which is a very good player, to being a truly great NFL quarterback?
Greeny, that's a phenomenal question. I think the offense is going to revolve around their quarterback, Dak Prescott, but it's going to include, if you will, Zeke. Last year, they tried to revolve around Zeke in a lot of ways. Week 2 through week 8, they averaged 154 rushing yards. There were multiple 200-plus rushing yard games with Zeke and Tony Pollard, but that's not sustainable. We've seen the injuries, and so Dak needs to be Dak and show everybody how great he is. So does CeeDee Lamb needs to step up. Guys like James Washington, whoever it is, step up. And then what that does is that opens up the game for your running attack, for Tony Pollard, for Ezekiel Elliott. Don't try and ram it down people's throat at running the ball. No, spread it out, and then all of a sudden get Zeke his touches.
Let me just get a quick thought from Lewis on that. Is this a team that will be able, you just made the point about the offensive line. Will it run through Zeke or will it run through Dak?
Well, I don't think there's any question that it'll run through Dak. And I think Dak is the key. The passing game is the key for this team and for Ezekiel in particular, like I said before. And really, if you want to make it real specific, talk to me about someone other than CeeDee Lamb. We know CeeDee can play. Somebody's got to step up, man. Michael Gallup has got to get back on the field. Jalen Tolbert, their rookie wide receiver, has to get on the field and play a big role, because if they don't, then it's going to trickle down to, obviously, it's going to trickle down to Dak Prescott, and it's going to make these defenses go, well, you know what? We'll just take away 88, and we're going to stack the box against number 21 and number 20. Now what you going to do, Dallas? Now what are you going to do? Dak has to elevate people around him. Now he's being paid as a guy who, as Mike Tannenbaum likes to say, is a force multiplier. He's being paid like a guy who can make other guys better and make them raise their game. This year, we're going to see whether or not he can do that or not.
Okay, I thought it was worth going. There was longer than I meant to spend on it, but I think they are a very interesting team this year, as are the Dolphins. Let's go next to Miami. Tyreek Hill has been continually praising his new quarterback during this entire offseason, even calling him the most accurate QB in the NFL. Here's the new coach, Mike McDaniel, on Tua. Here's Mike McDaniel and Tua about Tyreek Hill and all the things that he has had to say. Give a listen.
As a coach, you really appreciate when people believe in each other. And Tyreek is brash. If Tyreek is saying it, it's because he believes it. That's an aggressive statement, but Tyreek believes in his quarterback.
You know, Tyreek is someone that has established himself in this league, and to have the support from him means a lot, and I'm glad to have him as my teammate.
So we were talking about this in the meeting before the show today, Lewis, and here's the way I look at it. Tyreek Hill now has had the opportunity to be, he's the star of the team.